Okay. Hey, let me say a pleasant day to you all and welcome to Affinity Extra, where we do extraordinary things. I want to big up our station and everybody who's working across the board and those who are going through challenging times. I want to lift you up before God and just thank God for you. You know that we've been doing wonderful things. We have gone through a year's anniversary of just developing the project called Affinity Extra. And also it is a prophetic, what people don't realize is, for me, it is much of a prophetic movement. We are pushing against the wind and then against the tide. So the tide of the day. And so please make sure that you support, that you subscribe, that you click, that you pass on the details of the station to your loved ones, and you listen as well and then comment back with us. So you are listening to Bishop Jackson on Rock Solid, and we are going to be sharing in this Black History Month, where we're going to be reflecting on the beauty of blackness, the beauty of blackness. Not that we are going to try to establish that we are beautiful. We're just going to talk about the beauty of blackness. We are not trying to prove that we are beautiful. We are just merely highlighting the beauty of blackness. And so this is the pro se, or the thesis, or the argument. The argument is that we are not proving that we are beautiful. We are merely discussing the beauty of blackness. You know, in Song of Solomon, he makes a statement. You know, Solomon makes a statement. He says to his group around him, if you like, I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. And so as he was sharing that, the question comes, why does he have to say, I am black, but comely or beautiful? I think the challenge was then, and the challenge is now, that there is a stereotype around blackness, that it is not beautiful. However, we need to now acknowledge that there is something missing, or something that we need to reflect on when it comes to the beauty of blackness. A wonderful book that I was given and bequeathed is called The Beauty. Is called, can't remember. Lord, my head is just going. Afrocentric Sermons. Afrocentric Sermons. And Afrocentric Sermons is written by Cain Hope Felder and Kenneth L. Walters. Kenneth L. Walters Sr. is the guy who writes the sermons together. So I was just reading, because you know that the wickedness of what I hear sometimes is, if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. So therefore I go and find a book to read, just in case Google is lying to me. So for Affinity Extra, this moment for us and for Rock Solid is to discuss and to allow us to have our minds opened a little bit more, and for me to talk about what I see, what I observe in our world right now. You know, I always look at this and I say to myself, wow, every standard that we portray at times is today governed by others. What am I saying? I'm saying that when we were young, our sisters and our brothers would fear to do something that was extraordinary and ethnically distinctive, if you like to wear a good big afro, like the girls to plait their hair. There was always a challenge when you get to school about whether it is good, whether it is nice, whether it is beautiful. It was never seen as beautiful, and so therefore the perm industry kind of destroyed people's head, melt their head with acid, and therefore everybody's bald. Yeah, I went through it too. I got my hair permed as well with the Michael Jackson flow. And so after a while, the afro wasn't good enough. We had to go into the perm to make it look curly, to make it look more Asian, sort of European. And then we went into the straight perm and so on and so forth, and all the rest of it to try and make their hair look better, because we were wondering Why does our nappy head now for the world around us not look beautiful? And we didn't realize the beauty of our hair, the beauty of our skin. It was another one as well. So the beauty of the hair was destroyed, and then the beauty of the skin was destroyed. The beauty of the skin was destroyed in the bleaching products. Bleaching products are still around today, and they are destroying people's lives and people's skin. Why? Because they feel that the darker they are, the uglier they are. And so in our post-colonial world, in our post-transatlantic slavery world around us, there is a spirit that prevails amongst us that says to us that we were not deemed as beautiful. But prior to that, we had to look beyond those small incidents, and I do call them small incidents, whether 400 years means nothing to the millennia of living that African people have done on the earth. And so as the original people of the earth, we have to ask ourselves the question, whose song are we going to sing, or whose standards are we going to live by? You look at what's happening today. I've never seen so much programs on botched and so on and so forth, and how people are trying to change their bodies. And probably they'll bring out a botched UK soon. So when Solomon in the Songs of Solomon says, "I am black but comely," it's a question of whether he felt like his environment was challenging his beauty or his handsomeness. When we talk about being black and beautiful, it's like we have to make a statement in our world to say that my blackness is not ugliness. My blackness is the blessing that God gives me, and I think that's what we're going to be flowing and preaching on at the Rock over the next season. How my culture and ethnicity is the blessing of God. So why does it now become a challenge to just be black and beautiful? I think it's in many areas. One, I think the beauty industry has always tried to interpret what beauty is. And when they try to interpret what beauty is, then the general public follow what that interpretation is. So on magazines, on front covers, on perfumes, you look at it, the information that you have is that beauty, real pure beauty, is whiteness, is blondness. And that is why you find a white blonde Jesus, because Jesus demonstrates the purity of beauty. And so that's why Europe re-imaged Jesus in the image of a beautiful Italian man, because the Italians were supposed to be the most beautiful people on the earth, but those were the ones that were dictating the standards of beauty across Europe because of the age of enlightenment and so on, and the Michelangelo pictures and the arts renaissance and all of those that flowed over into the UK, and then the UK then flowed it over into the Caribbean to show that this is what the definition of beauty is. Angels were painted in the images of beautiful Italian men. David's statue was carved in the image of a beautiful Italian man. And so in our heads, in our understanding, then beauty then became European and white, and not black and African. So here's the challenge that we have. What is wrong? As Matthew Ashimolo says, what's wrong with blackness? What's wrong with being black? It's a really good book. I think it's his best book he's ever written, so you should get that book. So what am I saying? I'm not really having a fight against anybody. I'm just representing myself as somebody who has knowledge of his culture, knowledge of his own defense of beauty. I think that today we see this backlash of the beauty that was presented before, where women were very thin, gaunt, and lips were very small, and the body shapes were very, very, very standard, very slender. And now you get this challenge where there are people who are going through full transformation of bodies, the biggest breasts, the biggest bottom, the biggest lips that you could find. And therefore, again, the beauty industry is trying to determine what beauty looks like. I mean, sometimes when you walk around the streets and you see so much Botox in lips, you feel like somebody's at a fight in a boxing match or something where their lips are so big, so exaggerated. Again, the challenge is always not just for women, but also for men dictating what beauty is. And sometimes we men have a brutal way of trying to dictate what beauty is. And that is our challenge, to have a look at that. And also we get it dictated to us. What is beauty? Beauty is a six-pack, if you like. It's good to be healthy, though. So I think that's the caveat on the back end of it, that it's good to be healthy. But I suppose this is what we need to look at. If we continue down the road of dictating what beauty is from a perspective that is unhealthy or a perspective that is unreachable, many people will now find themselves ugly. They will find themselves not in the category of being able to speak about themselves as beautiful. And we have to challenge this. We have to challenge this because it breaks self-confidence. And so it breaks and damages how people feel about themselves. So when I was kind of reading up this sermon here and reflecting on the beauty that Solomon speaks about and says, I am black but comely, we have to reflect back on where he comes from. And so when you look at the Old Testament, the hardest thing to find in the Old Testament is a white person other than somebody who has leprosy. So the images of beauty could not have been dictated by Europeanness because there was none there. However, there was still this challenge about what represented beauty. And so when you look at where Solomon lands, they look at how there is this mixture of the Asian and black heritage. What you would call, I think the writer talks about this being the Afro-Asianic area. And this is where Africa meets Asia, if you like. Africa meets Asia. And this is where Jerusalem was. This is where Israel found themselves in this mixture. That's why you find that all the way across the text, you find that there is this intermingling of nations with each other. Moses marries an African woman. Joseph marries an African woman. Abraham marries an African woman. And it does not get any question from God. And their children, therefore, are Afro-Asianic in their look and in their beauty. David is definitely Hebrew, but he then marries into an African woman. Therefore, out of that comes Solomon. And so Solomon is now bridging the gap between Judaism and Africa and Cushite, Ethiopia and Egypt. Those are the main areas of connection with the Hebrew people. So in this biblical context here, we find that there is this ruddiness, there is this beauty in the color of Solomon. And you can see that there's beauty that flows through David's family, because you could also see that Absalom, his troublesome son with his big locks, oh boy, he was a handsome young man, so-called. And David was also a handsome young man as well. He wasn't as big and tough as his brothers, but still he was a handsome young man. So the question is, as we move on, what made him say, I'm black but comely? It must have been something that he felt was obvious to his day. And I think that it's obvious to our day today, that when we look around us, our children, or our girls especially, have to now fight to be presented as beautiful. And I think that as the custodians and as a man, I am going to have to reinforce to my girls that they don't need 6 tons of makeup to become beautiful. They are born beautiful. and they need to be healthy in their spirit and in their mind first, and also in their body. We can't have them eating 6 ton of burgers all day long and then still calling them beautiful, and then they get diabetes and all the rest of it. We have to make sure that they are healthy inside and healthy on the outside, the physical health as well. So we got to make sure of that. We can't fool ourselves. The reason why we get so many of our colleagues, our family, our friends struggling with their health is because they have not observed that if you class yourself, if you deem yourself as beautiful, you must then look after the temple that God gives you. You must look after the temple that God gives you. Okay, we're going to speak again on this message of beauty in this month of Black History Month. This is it, Black History Month. So we're not just talking about Black history, we're also talking about Black history made today. So I want you to just make sure that you represent and you big up this station, because we are making history. We're making history today in our lives and as we go forwards from here. So this is Bishop Jackson on Affinity Xtra, where you are on rock solid talking about the beauty of blackness. God bless you.
Visit us for updates and shows at affinityextra.co.uk.